Hello, BookTube. All right, we're continuing with my 2022 library tour. I put out the call for 2022 to be the year of library tours here on BookTube. I had a few people take me up on it. I'm hoping the rest of you do. It's bound to be fascinating, even if, and maybe specifically because, it will flush out people's specific interests, their specific concentrations. I'll leave a link to Jason Harrigan did the first installment of his own library tour and started out in one of his own concentrations, which is mystical writing. Fascinating. And I guess maybe theoretically fascinating as well. David Murphy did the first installment of his own library tour and started out with economics. It is, well, it's a seminar. I'll leave links to as many of these as I can find. I hope you all agree to do it. It's fascinating, inherently fascinating. And I'm now standing with 2 feet firmly on the ground. I am not on a step stool anymore. I got a lot of emails about that. And once again, we are going to clear out the transverse and blocked stuff. Stuff accumulates on shelves, as you can see behind me. Stuff accumulates on shelves. I'm going to clear those out before I get to the main books. So we'll do the transwise books first for this first shelf. And the first one is this nice big thing, the works of the Gawain poet, which is not only Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, but all the other stuff that's listed on here. Pearl, Cleanness, and Patience are also in here. Delightful big volume with lots and lots of notes, and no transliteration. No, it's all just in the original. Then we have Penguin Classic translation by A.E. Stallings of The Nature of Things by Lucretius. I jazzed up the cover just a little. I with Superman stickers left over from a project I did, but although Stallings' translation is, I think, better than Copley's, better than anybody who's done it so far, it still didn't make a dude bro out of me, I'm afraid. Let's see here. Then we have The Fall of the Roman Republic by Plutarch. This is the Rex Warner translation. And this has a lot of the big figures from the end of the Roman Republic before Julius Caesar destroyed it for his own personal ends. So we have Marius, Sulla, Crassus, Pompey, Caesar, and Cicero are in here. Plus tons and tons of notes and a great introduction. What else? Oh, great. Okay, we have a perfect condition copy. This is a translation by David Rayburn of the Metamorphoses of Ovid. Lovely, lovely thing. There's a Bernini sculpture, and this is my favorite book. But the reason that this is so pristine is because I have this version as an ebook. Same cover, same introduction, same everything. And when I feel like going back to this or Horace Greger or anything else, I go to the ebook. It's just, in the 21st century, in the last few years, I say probably like everybody else, especially skyrocketing at the pandemic, it's just become so natural to do that to consult my electronic Penguin library instead of coming over here and just loitering around. I used to, when the Penguin wall was all on the back wall, before I was really accustomed to ebooks, I would take my little dog in one elbow crook and just sort of patrol the wall. That doesn't happen as much anymore. But those are the transverse books for this first shelf, but they're not the only blockages. We also have items on the shelves, because these shelves were made for me by a muscular teenager, and they are specifically to my specifications. So each shelf is tall enough so that it will fit a normal book plus books on top, and deep enough so that you can put things in front of them, whether it's stacking books crosswise or putting other things on there. And the first of the other things is not a book. It is Wilson the Penguin. With his rosy cheeks that penguins do not have. And then naturally he belongs on the Penguin bookshelf. Of course he does. But then the next few things that we have here are not penguins either. They are classics, however. We have The Night Before Christmas, Pride and Prejudice, and Romeo and Juliet, but done properly. These are the guinea pig editions of The Night Before Christmas, Pride and Prejudice, there's Elizabeth Bennet, and Romeo and Juliet. These are absolutely sublime. There is Mr. Darcy. They were blocking the penguins, but now that they're gone, we'll get back to the penguins. Okay, the first one is Pride and Prejudice. Is this a Thomas Lawrence cover? Yes, the Thomas Lawrence cover. I'm not really I'm not really going to surprise anybody by telling you that there are many copies of Pride and Prejudice in this room. I think we've had one already, but there are a couple of others. There is one edition of Pride and Prejudice. This is just a battered, reinforced Penguin. But there is one edition of Pride and Prejudice that I do not have in this room because I've never come across it. And that is an annotated, one of those oversized annotated books. Do I have one right nearby that I can use as an example? Probably not. This collection is not that obedient, so I probably don't. No, I don't have one nearby, but you know the kind that I'm talking about. I've shown you annotated Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens and annotated Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. And there are a couple of annotated Pride and Prejudice editions that are out there. They circle around. They will get to me, but I don't have them, and they're not in here, but lots of other Pride and Prejudice editions are, because I love this book to distraction. I don't think I love any version of it quite as much as I love this, but I still love it enormously. Okay, here's a second, if I remember correctly, this is the second appearance of this same thing. This is selected writings of William Hazlitt. We had a little hardcover, I think, when we started this library tour, so here is Hazlitt again. Looking disturbingly like a young Christopher Hitchens. This is largely critical essays, and he's fantastic at that, so I'm happy to have it. These books are the survivors of the great Penguin Wall purge. The reason there's a bookcase instead of a wall is because I purged the wall that I had. Okay, here's Origin of Species, Charles Darwin, 1859. The single most important book by one author that's ever been written. Very disappointing, very discouraging at times to think about how many adults in the world today, including in the educated parts of the world, don't believe in evolution. It's just a little bit depressing. Okay, then we have Lafcadio Hearn. This is Japanese ghost stories with that now infamously classic cover. Started years ago. I read a book about one particular kind of Japanese ghost, and that really whetted my appetite. I'd known and read all of Lafcadio Hearn before then, but I hadn't read it with quite the appreciation, and now I do, so I was very happy to get that volume. Okay, then we have Common Sense by Thomas Paine, the usually unacknowledged spiritual father of the American Revolution. We have George Eliot. Something is coming up the works here. I don't know what it is. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, now I know what it is. I can fix that. This is George Eliot, the great novelist George Eliot, and this is her not novels. This is a volume of essays, some of which are really, really good, letters and her atrocious poetry and all that sort of stuff. This is just a volume for an Eliot fan, such as myself. Then we have the thing that is gumming up the works here, and I think I know how to fix this. I think I can fix this. This is Howard's End by E.M. Forster, one of the strong contenders for his greatest book. And I had the thing that was gumming up the works, so I had a bunch of clipped articles in here, and that doesn't work for a trade paperback of normal size. They'll stick out. So what I need to do is take these clippings and put them in my hardcover copy of Furbank's biography of E.M. Forster. They'll go there just as well, because I don't have any kind of fancy or nice hardcover edition of any Howard. I don't have Howard's End, don't have or Eddie Forster. I don't have Howard's End, I don't have Passage to India. I don't have anything, I don't have him in hardcover at all. So that's where the clipped pieces would usually go. Okay, then another battered, most of these Penguin classics have seen a lot of use. This is the Shorter Peeps. This is by Robert Latham, who is, you will see the big hardcover of this version that came out first, and then Penguin acquired it, so it became a Penguin classic. This is much bigger than the previous Penguin selection of Peeps, and the more Peeps you can get, the better, because his diaries are so endlessly entertaining. I don't have that large hardcover anymore. I have, since it's the exact same book, only this is a trade paperback, I kept this instead. The Penguin is the one I would go to anyway. Sometimes I regret that. Sometimes I wish I had the hardcover anyway. Even so, which is kind of ridiculous. That's how your book collection grows too big, is that you have doubles and triples and duplicates that you can't explain, that you can't justify in any way. I'm looking at this shelf right here, that trade paperback of the Peviar and Volkonsky War and Peace. I have the hardcover. And I said at the time when we were doing that library shelf tour, I said, well, there's no reason for me to have both of them here in this room, and yet I put it back on the shelf. Okay, then we have, this is a guy we've seen many times before on this channel. This is William Dean Howells. First we have A Modern Instance, and there is the famous painting of little girls feeding birds on Boston Common, with the streetcars in the background, the trolley cars. That is an area that I walk past. I used to walk past it every single day. I go to that area all the time. The ornate benches are gone. These posts are gone. The streetcars are gone. But there's the general topography is still the same. The Common opens up on one side and then extends up to Beacon Hill. And on the other side of the street, is this wall of buildings that face the Common. I should probably mention it, right? This is Boston Common at Twilight by Child Hassan. Just a terrific painting, very well known. And then this next one is also a William Dean Howells. This is Hazard of New Fortunes, another big, ambitious novel here. So we have A Modern Instance and Hazard of New Fortunes, but not The Rise of Silas Lapham. That must be somewhere else. And I noticed this also has clippings in it that don't really fit. They don't really belong here. And I don't know what to do about that because I don't have any hardcovers of this either. I don't have a nice, pretty hardcover of Hazard of New Fortunes, which is my favorite William Dean Howells book. I'll have to fix that. Okay, all right, great. And then we have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is the Penguin Classic version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is translated by David Coward. And I would love to have the Scribner illustrated edition of this. I just don't. At the moment, I just don't. I've had it many, many times. This is one of those great books that is often used as a children's classic, and you don't need to abridge it, and you don't need to Bowdlerize it either. So a lot of those bigger illustrated children's editions are the same book. They are the book. I mean, there are translation problems with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, famously, infamously. Some of the early translations are really, really bad, but the pictures make up for it. I'm sure that even with approved translations, I'm sure that there are big illustrated editions that I just don't have. So that's here instead. Okay, then we have The Red and the Black by Stendhal. Fantastic, fantastic novel. This one is battered all to hell and gone because I go back to it all the time. Then a brand new copy of the Penguin Book of Irish Poetry. This is edited by Patrick Crotty. Very pretty thing. Big, thick thing that just is the panorama across all of Irish literary history. So you've got the Penguin Book of Irish Fiction on the other wall. We've already seen that. And then we have Irish Poetry in the Penguin Classic. I don't think Penguin ever picked up the Irish Book of the Book of Irish Fiction as a Penguin Classic. I've never seen it, I don't think. Okay. All right. This next one is The Praise of Folly by Erasmus. There he is in the Quentin Matthias portrait. I love this book. I don't go back to the Penguin Classic as often as I do to a couple of other versions that I have, but this translation is by Betty Radis, and it's really good. I mean, even in an English language translation, provided your translator has a brain in their head, you're going to get why this thing was so phenomenally popular. You're definitely going to get it. Okay, this next one is The Marble Fawn by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Again, one of my favorite books of his. A weird, passionate, strangely passionate book. People look at pictures of Hawthorne as an old man and they think, well, surely no works of passion would come out of this bearded old Pharisee. And what they need to do is look at pictures of him when he was a young man. It's easy to see that he was no stranger to passion. The Penguin Classic edition of this used to have a framed interior picture here with the whole of this sculpture. This is a satyr just sort of casually, sexually leaning against a post. Here we just have the face. In this new edition with the script on the spine, we just have the face. Once upon a time, I have seen it when I marginally prefer it in the other format, but because it's such a sexually charged novel, and you don't expect that. Okay, great. This is a big selected poems and prose of Percy Bysshe Shelley. As far as I know, that glacier is not there anymore. but once upon a time it was considered a fixed feature of the landscape. This is just a big thing of Shelley. I think this may be all the Shelley that I have right now in my book collection. I don't think I even have collected poetry. I think this is all that I have. This and a really good biography that we'll get to in about a year. Okay, then we have Washington Irving, this great cover by Bastien Grivet. This is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Other Tales, Other Stories. Just there's the Headless Horseman right there. I just love Washington Irving. I love him. I think he's fantastic. And here we have the sketchbook with a different cover. That is Wyeth. Is that Wyeth? Yes, N.C. Wyeth. And again, with Washington Irving, I love these books of his, especially the sketchbook. But I don't have a big ornate volume of it, a nice ornate illustrated volume of it. I know they exist. I know they've passed through my hands at various points over the decades, but they aren't here at the moment. These are all just in Penguin now and on ebook. Okay, then we have Jane Eyre, the classic Penguin classic of Jane Eyre. Much reinforced, much battered, much consulted. Oh, great. Okay, this is another book that's in this room a few times. This is Alexis de Tocqueville. This is Democracy in America, the Penguin classic of Democracy in America, which is translated by Gerald Bevan, and the introduction and notes are by Isaac Kramnik. But I have this in a couple of different editions in this room. So that is our first shelf. We'll put Wilson the Penguin back up there. We'll put the Transwise books back up there. And do we have time to go on? Oh, sure we do. Sure we do. We'll put the Transwise books back up there, and we'll also put the Guinea Pig Classics back up there so that when I'm entering and leaving the room, I see them. I want to see them. All right, so now we'll do one more shelf for today. This is, and once again, we will do the Transwise books first. Where I'm going to put them, I have no idea. Here, let's move Wilson to right there. So the Transwise books can go up there. So the first Transwise books is not a penguin. It does not belong here. This is Patriotic Gore by Edmund Wilson. His big book in one of these old, what is this? FSG? Northeastern University Press. This is his big book on the literature of the American Civil War. Definitely does not belong on this shelf. Let's get it out of the way there. Then a Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of Swann's Way by Marcel Proust. These Penguin Classic Deluxe editions with the deckled edges and the French flaps. Very, very nice. I have the box set as well. This is by Lydia Davis, translation here. But I have the box set of trade paperbacks of the Moncrief that aren't in here. They aren't Penguin. So where are these going to go? Let's put that up there. Then the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of The Master and Margarita, due for a reread this year by me. A Russian classic that has never really given me the Russian classic vibes that I know it wants to. Then the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of East of Eden. Lovely, lovely thing. Steinbeck. This is not due for a reread this year, although I always feel that I owe Steinbeck a systematic reread. And yet every time I do, it was just 4 or 5 years ago, I gave him a systematic reread. And it didn't do anything for me. It didn't create the magic that is supposed to be there. So, but I keep trying. And then there are more Transwise books, and then we'll get to the final shelf here. This is the selected prose of Charles Lamb. Again, lots of critical stuff that's really, really good. He's really, really good. Then the great Penguin Classic cover for Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons. Genuinely funny book. I kept this cover because that was the story. I spent many, many years with sites like that, right up close. And therefore I love it. But there's also a Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of this book with a Roz Chast cover that is hilarious. So I think I have both of them. But I definitely kept that one. Okay. This was a free thing. This is a Penguin Classic, but it's a free thing. It was given out. The only way, if you missed the exhibition, the big event at the New York Public Library, then the only way you would ever find this is at a used bookstore, like the Strand or the Brattle. And I found this. I found Know the Past, Find the Future, the New York Public Library at 100. See, and it was free. It was a giveaway, and it's just various people connected with the library talking about the library and its history and its special collections. A wonderful volume, but who knows? I mean, it's got free stamped right on the cover, but who knows what it's going for online? I don't even want to look. Then we have Sir Walter Scott. This is Kenilworth, his great historical novel Kenilworth. And there you have, unmistakably, an Edwin Landseer cover there, which endears it to my heart, in beautiful condition. Then we have the new Penguin Classic. They did a whole series when Peter Jackson's Monstrosity, his trilogy of the Hobbit movies, was coming out in theaters. Penguin redid a lot of their Norse classics with lovely cover art. This is the Elder Edda. And they put the sticker on it. There was the inspiration for J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. I got the whole set from the publisher and was overjoyed to have it, because a lot of them are beautiful. They should be scattered throughout here, unless some of them have been sent away. Some of them may have been sent away. Then we have the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of The Prince, Machiavelli. Beautiful, beautiful edition. Tim Parks does the translation here. I think he also does the introduction. Just a lovely thing. These Penguin Classic Deluxe editions really are the bee's knees. It was a brilliant idea on their part to create them. Then we have this Behemoth. If 2022 is a year for reading behemoths, this one certainly counts. This is Clarissa by Samuel Richardson. The size of that thing. This is a newer trade paperback. I have, I'm sure, a copy of the older trade paperback as well. It's just not with this. This is a newer one that I can't quite remember if one of you sent me this or if I got this from the publisher. Every once in a while, I can convince someone at Penguin to go to the warehouse and send me older stuff that I just don't have, but that I want, even though they know perfectly well no review is going to come from it. Every once in a while, I'll find one of them in a generous mood, and they'll do that. Okay, then this next one is also a Behemoth. Looks like this shelf is full of a lot of Behemoths. This is one we've seen already. This is my backup copy of the Bible, King James Bible in the Penguin edition, heavily reinforced. I go back at it all the time. I'm at it all the time. Same thing with this next one. This is huge. This is the great Penguin edition of Boswell's Life of Johnson. Great big thing, homemade bookmark and all there. Tons and tons of notes and whatnot in here. This is my working copy of this book. I also have a non-reinforced, clean, naked, new copy of this edition that was given to me by a customer at my bookstore. I raved about the book to her. It came from receiving, and I was so happy about it. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And I knew that she was a serious reader and an adventurous one. And she said, "What's here that's new? I come to you so that you will tell me what's here that's interesting." And I went on and on about it. And she bought it. And I thought, wow, it doesn't seem like your kind of book. I'm glad that you're giving it a risk. And she said, "Oh, I bought it for you." She gave it to me. That was why I have that copy as well as this beaten up one. Okay, then the big Penguin Classic of the Recognitions by William Gaddis. Very much an improvement over the battered little mass market that I've had forever and ever. That fat little white mass market in the American market that I used to get. Every time I found it used anywhere, I'd get it and give it away. I don't think I even have a copy of that for a particular mass market at the time, but this is an improvement. Then another Behemoth, also a repeat, something we've seen already. This is the Peviar and Volkonsky translation of Anna Karenina in the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition with the French flaps and the deckled edges that I love so much. This was the version that was pumped by Oprah Winfrey, so it sold like the Dickens. Then we have another Behemoth. This is the mother of all Behemoths. This is War and Peace. This is the Anthony Briggs translation for Penguin Classic Deluxe edition. A chandelier on the cover. Unfortunately, this sticker does not come off. It's printed on the cover. Very, very annoying. But I also have the War and Peace is another book that I have multiple copies of in this room, and I have the Anthony Briggs translation in hardcover. So I've got both. Why I have both, I have no idea. Then we have the Penguin Classic Deluxe edition of the Histories of Herodotus, translated by Tom Holland. Very frustrating for me. Or no, not translated by Paul. Translated by Tom Holland. And frustrating because I came very close with this volume to having my name printed on Herodotus, which would have been great. The blurb, my blurb for this book came very close to making it onto the book. I don't think it's even on the pub sheet. This is from 2015. I don't think it's even on the pub sheet, but it came close. I came awful close, and that's heartbreaking because there aren't many authors I would rather have my name on than, but this is a very engaging translation. I did a huge review of it, so if I remember, I'll leave a link. to all of these, anything that I've reviewed, anything that I've written about. I think I missed quite a few yesterday. I went looking, but I ran out of time. It's time consuming to do. And if I've got a deadline looming, then I can only do so much of it before I have to stop. Okay, this is another Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition, a lovely one, just lovely. This is the novels of Sherlock Holmes. It's just a wonderful, wonderful volume that just goes on forever. You've got a whole bunch of standard Holmes characters, just sort of making their way across the landscape. There's the Hound in the background there, and Toby, the Bloodhound. Just a delightful volume to have. This next one is not a Behemoth. It's a tiny little thing. It's the Penguin Classic Deluxe Edition of The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, with a cover illustration on the front and a different cover illustration on the back by Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy. Match made in heaven to do the artwork for Joseph Conrad. Squeeze that in there. Oh, and then we'll finish up with the big three. These are the Penguin Classic Deluxe editions of the Fagles Holy Trinity. So we've got the Fagles Aeneid, the maroon cover there, and you've got again the French flaps. But then also the two book set of some of the most beautiful Penguin Classic Deluxe editions that have ever been made. The two deluxe editions of the Iliad and the Odyssey. Just delightful. I've had these so many times in my life. Basically every time I see these, I get them, because they may be in better condition than the ones I have, and because they make perfect gifts to give to somebody, because it's not just the beauty of the design, it's also the translation is sturdy enough, and each of these books comes with a long introduction by Bernard Knox, the great classicist Bernard Knox, that really does what an introduction is supposed to do. It gives you the whole world of the book in a very engaging 30 pages. So it's perfect to give to somebody, especially that, I'm never short of young people who are saying, I'd really like to try the Iliad, and I don't know where to start. It's frankly, it's intimidating me a little. I tell them, it shouldn't intimidate you. Read up on it. Read the introduction to this book. This translation will not give you problems. And then here you go. Here's a beautiful volume that's all yours. So there you go. That is the next library tour. We're going to be doing Penguin Classics for a couple more days. But that is the next one. I'm going to have to work out the ergonomics for the rest of this bookcase. But I will. So I'm going to wrap this up for now. But I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.